Well, just a few spontaneous words about this Feast of St. Martha, as well as our gospel, and perhaps a segue into what you are about. I know there's about 15 or so folks on the live stream daily Mass, the faithful remnant that is deeply dedicated to praying with and for the church here in the Upper Valley. Let me just go this way with a homily. Pope Francis wrote a very arresting and interesting article a few months back. It hasn't been fully translated to English, but it was in the Spanish magazine La Vida Nueva. It's a Catholic magazine in Spain. And he said this, and Pope Francis was addressing the post-COVID-19 world. As you know, much of Europe had been on lockdown. Parts of Europe are back on lockdown due to COVID-19. The title of the article was this, in Spanish, Un plan para resucitar. Un plan para resucitar. In English, a plan to resurrect. And in many ways, Francis is drawing from this gospel. What he's getting at is, we're in a new world. And we're not going to come back after COVID-19 into the same life we had before. That's gone. But what we want to think through in our plans is how we're going to come back renewed, resurrected, better than before, a better version of ourselves. How are we coming back as the resurrected body of Christ for the world around us? It's very arresting because, see, in this particular passage, and this is a deliberate gospel for the Feast of St. Martha, Lazarus died. And if we were to read a little bit farther into the Gospel of John, we hear this gospel generally tied to RCIA on the fifth Sunday of Lent. If we were to read a little bit longer, we'd learn that Lazarus is raised up, but he's brought back into this life. And of course, he's brought back into this life after Martha professes faith in the resurrected life. See, the point is this. Lazarus was not resurrected. He was resuscitated in this gospel. He came back into this world. And yet Martha is acknowledging that Jesus Christ is the resurrection and the life. She's acknowledging a different kind of life to come. Remember, in the resurrection, when Jesus, the first to rise from the dead, comes back, the women think he's a gardener. The men think he's a short order cook, preparing breakfast, frying up fish on the shores of Galilee. And the travelers on the road to Emmaus mistake him for just one more road warrior, No one immediately recognizes this resurrected body. Thomas, who wasn't with the others at the resurrection, when he runs into Jesus later, he doesn't recognize Jesus either until he looks at the wounds. In other words, this resurrected body is more real, not less real than the body we have. This resurrected body is recognizable through its wounds. What Pope Francis is getting at this image about un plan para resucitar is, how are we going to come back resurrected? How will we allow the Lord to reanimate as we enter the post-COVID-19 world? See, let me just hit this home to you here in the Upper Valley. You're more than about building a new church. You're renewing the church through the building project. The Assumption, Our Lady of the Assumption, is going to come back after COVID-19 resurrected. This is not about a new church building as much as it is about a renewal of the church. That's the mission. And that's why I'm grateful just to have a few moments with Father Miguel after last night's Migrant Ministry and Monitor, and a few minutes with you, the faithful remnant, joining us on this live stream, you 15 people, huh? Because you're the leaven. I mean, you folks are the ones that are bringing forth a church building and a rebuilding of the church in one act. What you are about for the Upper Valley is enormously significant. As we're discovering, most people now don't go to church through a front door. They're coming through social media. They're coming through a sign-up sheet. They're coming in a variety of ways. But this renewed church is going to be one in which there are multiple avenues for people to grow in their faith life with Christ. Multiple tools, multiple ways in which people are going to discover Christ. I don't know how long people stay on any one of these live stream masses, but let me just point out one interesting item. As you know, I had the grace of ordaining Father Edgar Quiroga as a priest via live stream, and then Deacon Mike Kelly to the transitional diaconate in a live stream. God willing, next May in Wenatchee, we're going to ordain 2 transitional deacons to the priesthood as well. This is what's interesting. There were 3,000 people on the live stream for the ordinations. We can't get 3,000 people in any church building here. In other words, this resurrected church that we are witnessing in the post-COVID-19 moment, we have the great capacity to touch people in multiple levels, to create multiple doorways, multiple pathways for people to grow in the relationship with Christ. For many of us who can come to church, it will be that direct experience encounter with Christ through the sacraments. For some of us who can't come, it's going to be this way, right, through live stream. For many people who have never walked through the doors of a church ever, they're touching our Facebook ministry. They're touching our live stream. They're touching our Zooms. So this is a little inkling of what the resurrected church is about. It gets at Pope Francis's insight that we don't want to plan to come back to the old way, but we want to plan to come back resurrected, risen. Un plan para resucitar. Thanks for being part of this great plan in the Upper Valley, and thanks for all you're doing, all you're giving, the support you give to Father Miguel, the support that really you give to each other in renewing the church even as you build a church. God bless.